Dr. Kevin Roberts is on to talk about what is a right? What are state rights? How does this relate to the federal government? Is the federal government overstepping their rights? Well, all this and more with Dr. Kevin Roberts right now.
You're muted. We need you to unmute yourself. He's joining us via Zoom, so it's a common thing that happens on Zoom chats all the time. Good morning to you, sir. Thanks for being on.
Hi, good morning, Joe. Thank you for having me on this show. Yeah. Very beautiful.
Praise be to God. Now, let me how do I, is it Sabat? How do I say your last name?
You know, it's funny you're saying it correctly. Sabat.
Well, what do you know?
First time I think, oh my goodness, somebody is doing it right.
Can you just say that again? I want to make sure. I want to make sure my producer Adrian heard you correctly. Joe McClane, have done it correctly. Did you hear that, Adrian? I mean.
I can't. I'm not allowed to address this situation. We have to just move on.
Anyway, any way you want it, you pronounce it. I came to America just for the purpose of the mission of spreading the mission of Our Lady.
Praise be to God.
You pronounce it differently, and I have adapted it. So,
amen. Well, Mr. Patrick Sabat is with BlueArmy.com. Let's talk about the Pilgrim statue, Our Lady of Fatima, 1917. One of the, I would say, the hinge pin moments in the history of the world in many ways. Let's start with you in the sense of how did you get involved with the Pilgrim statue, BlueArmy.com? Tell us all about it.
Well, it's 20 years, almost 20 years has passed since I got involved with the mission of Our Lady of Fatima mission. And of course, as you mentioned, 1917, way back, we celebrated the centennial anniversary already in 2017. But the statue came to my hometown. I was discerning my vocation to the priesthood, believe it or not. At that time, I was teaching in a state university. I was teaching philosophy, but I wasn't happy. I wasn't contented. And the statue came processing down the main road in the Diocese of Tarlac to get to the cathedral. And I was captivated by the beauty of this international pilgrim statue. One of my priest friends who was helping to coordinate asked me if I could volunteer to help with, island hopping, propagating the message of Our Lady of Fatima, rosary and scapular and all that. And so they asked me if I could do it. And I said, yeah, it's going to be a semestral break. I would have the time. And a couple of months later, they called me again. They emailed me. They said, would you like to go to Taiwan? We're going there. And said, oh, yeah, another semester break coming up. Christmas break, we're going to India. Would you like to come? Says, okay, sure. Come to Australia with us. And just, yeah, fine, I'll do it. And then when they finally said, would you be able to come to America and immigrate here possibly? And I said, oh, wait a minute, I got to think about this. But then everything happened. I got my... I got married, and Our Lady has always been taking care of me, guided me how to serve our Lord Jesus Christ the best way I can. And I came here in 2008 after 3 denials from the U.S. Embassy from the Philippines. The 4th time I showed up there, always with a picture of Our Lady of Fatima, put it on the desk there, and I said, I'm here again, Now, you've been like 3 times. And the consular officer said, I guess today is your lucky day, and handed me over my visa.
Wow.
I kept scratching my head. What could this be? What is this day? Why can I be so lucky this day? And that's 2008, February 20. I will never forget that. February 20. And I searched. It was the death day of Jacinta Marto, who became Saint Jacinta Marto, and that date became the feast day for Saints Jacinta and Saint Francisco of Fatima. Wow. So now the Blue Army, I got involved with the Blue Army. Blue Army has been around since 1947 with the history of the statue tied in so closely together with Our Lady's Blue Army of Prayer against, of course, with the Red Army of Atheistic Communism founded by Mr. John Hafford and Monsignor Colgan from New Jersey and from Fatima. The statue was blessed. If you want to go there right now, it's very interesting. I can't wait to tell you about this beautiful history and the significance and why we are still traveling today. It's so important that we travel, that we put it out there because the world needs it. It was given to us by Our Lady of Fatima at the height of the First World War, and the statue was blessed and commissioned by the Bishop of Fatima. It was blessed by Pope Pius XII shortly after the Second World War. So if you think about it, something's Our Lady is telling us something in that momentous period in the history of mankind.
Patrick, so what about the origins of the actual statue itself? How was the statue constructed? Because when you see this particular statue in comparison to a lot of the replicas and other versions of Our Lady of Fatima with her Immaculate Heart exposed, why is this one different, and why is this one unique in its beauty?
You know, a lot of people are asking me about this. This is a very important question because when you go to Fatima in Portugal, you would see a statue that stays there and that doesn't travel unless the Pope asks for it. You know, like, for example, when Pope Francis entrusted the world and did his consecration to Our Lady of Fatima, he asked that the statue be present there in the Vatican Square. But the interesting story is when you go there, you'd see that statue behind the glass, and you would say, this is different from the international statue. The reason is that when Lucia, Sister Lucia, when she came to Fatima in 1946, you know, she saw Our Lady and, you know, the apparition happened, and she went to Spain to be living in the Dorothean convent. And then she came back during her sabbatical to be part of the Carmelites. And they asked her, what do you think of the shrine? What do you think of this statue? And she said, something's not right. You know, she is so faithful to not only to the words of Our Lady, but how she looked. So the same artist who did the statue that sits behind the glass, it was carved in 1920. The International Pilgrim statue was carved in 1947, now with the direction of Sister Lucia. When she came to Fatima, she said, this is how she looked. Very meticulously, it was done by the same artist who is considered to be the Michelangelo of Portugal.
Wow.
So he carved the statue with Sister Lucia, firsthand carving, doing it and describing how she looked like. And so the face, Sister Lucia, very interesting. She said she appeared not like a statue. She appeared lifelike. And the countenance, if you get a chance to look at this statue, by the way, there were two statues that was carved, like Joe, again, is right. He mentioned there were two statues.
Wow. Twice in the same hour. That's amazing.
There were two statues that was blessed in 1947. One was blessed on May 13, 1947, supposedly to replace the one that sits behind the glass. And the International Pilgrim statue that still travels today under the custody of the World Apostolate of Fatima, or Our Lady's Blue Army. And I am the, they call us stewards or escorts or custodians. They call us by many names. I think my favorite is Our Lady's Donkey.
Nice.
But we bring the statue, like I mentioned, the two statues. If you encounter the term the Pilgrim Virgin, which was used by several popes and the bishops of Fatima, even Sister Lucia, they call it the Pilgrim Virgin. They refer to the statue as if there were only one. They call it the Pilgrim Virgin.
Wow.
And it was blessed October 13, 1947, like I said. The two statues were traveling across the globe until in the late 1980s, when the other one retired and now sits in the Basilica of the Most Holy Trinity in Fatima. And the twin statue, if I may call it that way, is the one that still travels today. As we speak, it is traveling through Louisiana and into Tampa, Florida, on our way to Wisconsin, go to again, I think we are going to Orange Diocese. So all these things happening. The statue has never stopped traveling, like I mentioned, since 1947, under the care of the World Apostolate of Fatima. Never stopped traveling until 2020. Guess what happened there?
Before we go on to talk about your experience with the Pilgrim statue during COVID, why is she the size that she is? Why is she not a life size, or why isn't she smaller? Why is she the size that she is?
Well, basically they know that this is going to travel. So they carve it out of cedar wood. The International Pilgrim statue was carved out of mahogany. Wow. So it can take a lot of beating. They know it's going to travel. They didn't know how long it will travel. But as far as the size is concerned, I think it's very providential, because we can sit it on the airplane. She's got her own seat. She's got her own boarding pass. So she could fit in there. By the way, she prefers the window seat. She could look over.
Praise be to God.
Amen.
But that's the size. And I think, this is just personal. When you look at the statue, as if you kneel down and from the small holm oak tree from the apparition of Fatima, I think that's probably the perspective. But again, it's personal. If you kneel down and you look up there,
it would be around the same size, you're saying.
Right. That's
if you were the shepherd children kneeling down and looking up. This would be about their perspective.
Exactly.
That's fascinating. Well, we're down to just seconds now in this first segment. We're talking with Patrick Sabat from Blue Army, bluearmy.com, about one of the pilgrim statues of Our Lady of Fatima, who has traveled the world. And there's been many miraculous stories that have occurred. I'm actually, while you were talking, I was looking up a photo in my phone from when I saw this statue last, and it's incredibly beautiful. To think the solid wood. You would not know, looking at this statue, it's solid wood. It's so incredibly made and well designed. But when we get back from the break, and then to learn the story of this was even more incredible. And to that end, I want to get into some of the miracle stories. Let's start with the crying. This statue has wept tears. Tell us about it.
Well, yes, it seems like God. Well, obviously, it's God who put the tears there in the wooden carved statue of Our Lady. But for a reason. Our Lady is sad because of the sins of mankind. And if you tie this to Our Lady of Fatima's message, she is asking us for penance, penance, penance. And very interesting, surrounding or even before the Roe versus Wade case here in America in 1972, when she was traveling in New Orleans. They found her to be weeping, and even the pastor, the parish priest, put his handkerchief under the chin of Our Lady and caught it got wet.
Wow.
Archbishop Hanan had it investigated. I think it was Father Ramosa who did that, the pastor at the time, and they had it examined under a lab test, and they found it to be of human tears. This is very scientific, it's not something like, an old lady said this was crying, but photos were taken. It's very phenomenal. This was for real. So this was 1972 when she started weeping, and people ask me, why, we never really know and understand fully and comprehend God's mysteries and why she would weep. But the reason is obvious. If we don't see it that way, we're completely doomed. Our Lady, she has done this in all her travels. Like you mentioned, probably the greatest miracle that she does is bring people to the Lord and to witness the changing of the bread into the body, blood, soul of our Lord Jesus Christ. That's one thing we tell people when we're not there as if it's a museum to gaze on the beauty of an artwork, but we look at it as St. John Chrysostom would say, as a visual catechism. It teaches us something about our faith. But stories like yourself, I don't even know what's going on here. I just want to pray. But a lot of people come to me like, I'm not a priest, but they would confide in me like, Patrick, I've never been to the church in 20 years, but something urged me to come today, and I did not even realize Our Lady of Fatima statue is here. And I went to confession, and that changes everything. We ask for I've seen some physical miracles also, asking for cures and miracles. But I have an old friend who always say, yes, you can grow an arm and a leg right now today in front of Our Lady, but changing eternity, going to confession, that changes everything. Now that's probably the more important miracles that I'd like to talk about, when people are converted. Again, in the light of the message of Fatima, that's why Our Lady's Blue Army exists, to help people learn more about Fatima. That's why we want them to live it, in our own lives, to pray the rosary and to wear the brown scapular as a sign of our consecration to the Immaculate Heart of Mary.
We got about 4 minutes before we have to go to a break. So tell us some of what's the most outstanding story of conversion that you can recall in your time, your 20 years now of being with this statue?
There are a few, but probably one of my favorites would be a priest himself. I have a high regard for priests, but sometimes these priests that I encounter, it's kind of weird and very hostile to statues of Our Lady. And he said, I don't want any, it's for some reason, he said, I don't want the statue to be near the sanctuary. I want her to be in that corner, and no flowers, no lights for a statue of Mary. And I kind of felt weird, but I opened the statue and his face light up.
Wow.
And I said, okay, you can probably put a spotlight on, but still in that corner. And then he came back to the sacristy and came out, and he said, I think you can go closer to the sanctuary now, and you can put flowers. And he said, I want you to speak only for 1 minute after I made the announcement. And so I did speak that, but he came up again and he said, okay, next Mass, you can do 5 minutes. And he said, that's a Sunday. And he said, for the noon Mass, that's the third Mass, you can do my homily.
Wow.
Tell them about Our Lady of Fatima. And then he said, I don't usually hear confessions on the Sunday, but I'll make an exception. He went to the confession after noon Mass, and we're about to leave by 3:30. He's still in the confessional box. And he said, he came out, the line's still long, but he came out to me, I want to talk to you before you leave. I want to talk to you. And then by 3:45, I was in the car. I had the statue already set to go to the next church. And he said, come here. He hugged me and he said, today I caught a lot of big fish. And the biggest fish I caught, the very biggest conversion I've heard today is myself. Thank you for bringing Our Lady here today. And he hugged me and he was sweeping and, he wouldn't let me go. And he turned to Our Lady. Thank you, Our Lady Fatima, for coming to my parish today, still in tears.
That's incredible. Wow. Praise be to God. What a glorious thing it must be to see these experiences over and over again.
Yes. And I can tell you one more thing. I can tell you more, but this is very quick. I can promise you this. We were in Cebu in the Philippines. We were waiting for our ferry boat to take us to another island. And there's this 4 or 5 year old
All that thought. That music means we got to go to break.
Well, it's unbelievable what happened, because we were, imagine you were in an airport. It's a ferry airport, but when we travel, we put the statue in a bag as if it's a guitar or a cello, an instrument. So you wouldn't know. Or it's a golf club, probably the best description there. So it's enclosed. You wouldn't know what's inside. But this 5-year-old girl, 4 or 5-year-old, trying to play around, not too far from her parents. But then when, jump in and, very happy. But then she came to this statue right next to me, on the floor, and completely covered. And the most amazing thing, I don't know how to describe this with the radio, but I can, describe for me, Joe. But he came up to, with the praying hand on her chest, and then he touched the statue covered on the face, but she couldn't see. Only we can see, because we know what's inside of that bag. Yeah. And she kind of touched the face of the statue under the cover, and she made the sign of the cross very reverently and put her hands back in the praying posture for a few seconds and then started playing back.
Wow.
And I said, a 5-year-old girl would do something like that. It doesn't look like any religious article at all. It's completely covered. We're just passing through like, in an airport. So to me, that's amazing how Our Lady touches the heart.
You didn't ask like the little girl, hey, how did you know that was Our Lady under there? You didn't ask?
She came back playing, and I was just mesmerized, and I didn't know what to say. I have a priest right next to me. We just looked to each other and said, "What happened there?" So
that's pretty amazing.
So when we put Our Lady in one of the seats of the airplane, I make sure I open it up. But when I carry her around, it's for the security purposes. We close it up.
I can TSA say? Yeah, what does TSA say when you travel through it, when you go through the security?
Oh, a lot. We take her through the X-ray, the box where you put your bags in. It just fits perfectly. But a lot of people would be saying, "Oh, that's Mama Mary," or "That's Our Lady," or "That's Fatima." You get all kinds of reaction. Even the pilot would make an announcement once in a while. He would say, "Ladies and gentlemen, folks, it's going to be a safe flight today. We have a very special passenger, Mary, the Mother of Jesus." One of the airlines even asked me to say something, when the flight attendant would say something on the telephone, the PA, and they say, "Oh, I've got Patrick here," and I'm in the front seat there.
That's pretty amazing.
Say something,
I can imagine that as the steward of one of two incredibly special, unique, and rare statues on planet Earth. Do you feel any anxiety or stress about whether or not she'll be damaged, hurt, or stolen, or something bad happen? Do you ever get anxious about that?
I learned a lot from traveling with Our Lady, just to put my complete and total confidence in Our Lady. Probably the first few years I was so anxious, like you said, what's going to happen? And, every circumstances are playing in my head. And now it's just, even traffic. I don't even worry about traffic if I'm going to make it to the next church. I don't worry at all about it now. And it's just peace and calm. Mm-hmm. It's amazing how Our Lady works in our lives. So, yes, there are still times like that. I still hate flying in an airplane, so I grab onto her. She's got 2 seat belts. I only got one when we're flying. But it's amazing. Now we have a motorhome. I call it Our Lady's recreational vehicle.
Nice.
We're traveling, and you see a lot of peace signs and thumbs up and honks while you're traveling on the road. And the RV, I thought it was vandalized during the beginning of our centennial tour, because I see a lot of red marks on the face of Our Lady of Fatima, because it's got a big photo of Our Lady of Fatima, the statue. And I said, this is vandalism, I think. And I got out of the RV one day, and I see these women kissing Our Lady's face on the statue, and those are
it was their lipstick. Okay. Wow, that's amazing how Our Lady calls her children the way she does. We're down to about 6 or 7, maybe 7 minutes now left in our conversation, and I still want to get to some things really quickly. I've been told that this particular statue has had many miraculous facial expressions, like her disposition has changed in certain circumstances. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, for some reason, it's, the expression, again, I don't personally, it's like, it's their story. I see it also, but for some reason, the expression changes. Even our founder, John Hafford, founder of the Blue Army, states that in his books. That the statue kind of changes expression. You can tell for yourself. You walk up into the church or any other place where she's at, and you would see her expression kind of, oh, she's sad today. You hear that a lot. Oh, she's very happy today. Or I was just here this morning, they came back and now she seems more, lively or something like that. And I don't think people would say, oh, it's about the light or where she's at. But sometimes you have her in one position for a long period of time, like the whole day, and people keep on coming and they come back, for second dose. Oh, you're here again for your second dose.
Yeah.
But they would tell me, the expression is changing. I don't have any explanation for it, except that Our Lady, when she was blessed by the Bishop of Fatima, by Pope Pius XII, back in 1947, graces are flowing through the visit, the special occasion, and again, I think it's tied into the message of Our Lady of Fatima for prayer, penance, and conversion.
And I can attest to that. Whenever we had the Miraculous Pilgrim statue at a TFP event that I was at for the entire weekend, and every time I go back to see her, and I've seen the replicas that are exact replicas of this statue that the TFP takes with them all over the place, and when I saw the Miraculous Pilgrim statue, it's just totally different. Even though the other ones, if you look at them side by side, it's almost a perfect replica. But the Miraculous Pilgrim statue, her disposition, her countenance, it's something so unique. It's almost as if she's alive. It's amazing.
It is pretty amazing. I was very blessed that one time that I had, but we're running out of time, down to probably about 4.5 minutes now. But I want to ask about Padre Pio. Now, he was my confirmation saint when I became Catholic in 1999, and I have enjoyed reading his biographies and miraculous stories about this incredible saint. One of the stories that I've read on numerous occasions is how he was incredibly sick when the pilgrim statue came to visit San Giovanni Rotondo in Italy, his monastery, and he was so sick he was unable to come down and to pray alongside this pilgrim statue. So when it was time for the statue to leave, which came and left by helicopter, Padre Pio is said to go to the window, and seeing the helicopter fly off, he says, "No, wait, lady, come back." And the helicopter turns around and comes back so that Padre Pio might pray with the statue. Have you heard this story? Do you know anything about it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's one of my favorite stories too. When if I may add to this beautiful story to what you just stated, Padre Pio prayed because he was so sick. He said, "You left me like you arrived in my condition. I was sick, and you were going to leave me, and I'm still sick. Oh, Our Lady, why would you leave me like this in this condition?" And so the helicopter pilot kind of felt an urge to, like he's one of the witnesses, kind of felt the urge to go back, like as if a wind was blowing to the direction of Padre Pio. But the quick answer is there's an 80-20, because there were two statues at the time. It could be the twin statue of what we're talking about right now. Most likely, it's the one that sits on the Basilica in Fatima, Portugal, the statue.
Wow.
But because I've seen some photos, and I can tell the difference, which one is it. But when it was in the helicopter ride, because I think it was another time when it was taken when he was kissing the feet of Our Lady of Fatima. And definitely that one that he was kissing was the twin statue to this one.
Wow, I'm sure there are a lot of people who would love to hear a lot more stories about the work of this incredible apostle at bluearmy.com and the stories of the miraculous conversions and healings and all of that of Our Lady of Fatima. Praise be to God. How can people find out more? And is it even possible to request her to come to their parish? Is that a thing, or do you just always do tours and try to hit as many spots along the way?
Well, you can, you're talking to the right person here. I represent the Word Apostolate of Fatima and the Statue Pilgrim Virgin Tours. Again, go to bluearmy.com. Thank you for promoting our site. It's very important. And join us, to help change the world. We always say that, sign the pledge to do what you ask, to to have peace in the world and of course, the triumph of the Immaculate Heart of Mary.
Amen.
But
Amen.
Email me. You'll find more information about the statue, how you can host in your diocese, in your parish. Go to bluearmy.com. That's the easiest way.
All right. Praise be to God. Patrick Sabat, thank you for your time today. God love you. We're very grateful to you. Praise be to God.
God bless you in your ministry.
BlueArmy.com is the website. Check it out. Spread the word. And don't forget, tomorrow is First Saturday. Go to Mass. Pray your rosary. Spend time with Our Lady.
If you like that interview, then be sure to check out some of our other interviews that you might find fascinating. And don't forget to like and subscribe and share this interview with someone that you think will find this informative and inspiring. God love you.